Hi everyone, welcome to Mixing Like a Pro. This is Dami. Today's video is about how to mix your low end. Specifically, we're going to be looking at your bass, and then later on just look at the relationship between your kick drum and your bass. So without wasting much time, let's jump into the door as we take a look. So first and foremost, I'm going to play the original bass and what that sound like. The bass, it's mostly just really the low end. Was barely any top end in there. Or I'm just gonna choose a section here. Okay, so that's the sound. That's all we got with for the bass, and then I'm gonna play you the after this had been processed. So we've added some really top end, so this can cut through the mix. Okay, so now there's more energy, there's just more presence, and then weight, movement. We can hear the notes of the bass. So here's what I did. The first thing is we played the original bass right here. I can bypass these plugins for now. Then the first thing I like to do on bass is to duplicate depending on how the bass was tracked. And I think this wasn't the DI. This was really I believe it's the amp version. So one thing I did is duplicate the original bass. So that's the same thing. And then the goal is to run this through an amp to get that add basically distortion. And you can use any one. This seemed to have worked better. I kind of was just testing this one, and then I love what it did. Usually I'll use the Sans amp too, which is great. Okay, so here we have, let me turn it up. Bypass. Kind of overblown because I turned it up. All right, so we're getting a lot of the top end. Then I turned down the bass completely from here, and then I cranked the treble all the way up because that's really what I wanted. And then next is I'm using this EQ, C or Psy-Q. I'm not sure how you say, but Sound Toys sounds amazing. Low end is great, mid is great, top end is great. Everything about this sounds good. So what I'm doing is, you can see 1.5, I'm cranking. I'm basically boosting all I can boost in there. That's like 8 dB. And then I'm also using the output to get more gain. So let me play that and then bypass it. Now I'm bypass both plugins. That's the original bass. Now we're changing the character of that. Okay, so, and then there's one track right here too. That's definitely, and it's called Bass Amp, but it's a duplicate of the original that I think when I received the bass, I had run that through like maybe some Sans amp, but it wasn't working well. I think when I was mixing, I didn't like the sound. It wasn't complementing the bass tone well. But the kind of saturation it's adding is different. It's okay, but compared to this, so I like that better. But I still kept this one right here. So what I have here is basically an equalizer on this, and it's toned down in the mix, right? I like the tone. The tone will work elsewhere too. So that is that. That's the first thing we're doing. So all of this is trying to just get tone. We haven't really had any compressor or anything. On the main bass, see exactly what I was doing here. I'm also using the Ampeg, yeah, Ampeg here as well. It's just to get the want to have a bass sound or sorry bass sound or bass amp, because the original bass wasn't, that's not gonna really cut in the mix at all. So as you can see here, I left the treble and the bass because I'm not trying to really change the sound drastically here. So let me play and then bypass it. So I didn't spend much time on that. I just inserted it. I'm like, it's fine. There's some changes in the mid frequency, but I was losing some mid when I brought it in. But I wasn't too worried because I have this here. So now let's play all three together, and then I'll show you my thought process with bass, how I do it, especially for songs like this. Gonna play the before. This is what we have before, and then it's what we have after. Okay, so now I can play that maybe even with the drums, or let's even play with the track. I like usually to play with the drums, my bass, when I'm mixing the bass, to hear the relationship right between the bass and the kick drum. Let's play with the track now with what we've done so far. You can hear. So we can still hear the low end in there, even when I muted all those ones, but then it's not gonna cut through well. All right. Okay, now what's my process when it comes to mixing bass? Really, it's not that very difficult to mix. Well, I found what's been working for me, because usually I would notice that it's really the low end, right? It's not well contained. So you have maybe some notes coming and then the bass just swells, woo, comes back again. So it's not tight down there. And there's always been one secret plugin that I use that fixes that. And I mean it, for me, secret plugin, which is the C4. And most times I use just the multi-band compressor right here, right, to tame my low end. But before we get to the C4, usually I like to listen to some frequency in the bass, because not all the time, it's not every time that the bass sounds good, especially in the low end section. So it seems like here I'm cutting around 142 here. Let's hear exactly what that is doing. So that tone right there isn't that bad. But let me play with the kick, because those are two things I do. And then I'm also rolling off around 38 to get rid of any mumble from especially the original bass sound. Just clarity and focus. So I'm going to bypass this plugin so you can hear. Yeah, seems like we got clarity. We got, especially now, we got clarity and we cleaned up the bass a little bit. Sometimes don't be shy around that 100. Usually that's the area I'm boosting on bass, but sometimes there are just some frequencies there that isn't correct. We've lost some low end, but we're going to gain that back. All right, so because we need that in the track. So this next plugin right here. And this is my bass comp, right? So I'm sending all of my bass and then I'm processing them all together. So here I'm boosting around 800 and then 50 dB. I'm bringing back some of the low end. I'm gonna bypass it, but I won't stop the music. So you can hear the weight is added back in at that low end. And then first thing I would do is to control, most times to control some of the mid frequencies. And in some cases, I always would automate the high side of the bass, especially maybe in verses if it's needed. In this case, not doing that, it doesn't look like it. So now let's hear what we're doing. This is a fairly medium attack and then fast release. So this is the step one to just keeping my bass contained. Now this is compressing the low end. I'm not using the sidechain high pass filter on there, right? As you can see here, this compressor has it but set to 0. I boosted some 50. I want to compress it to contain that frequency, which I'm doing that on purpose. We're not losing it. It's still there, and you see why. And here's what I mentioned about the C4. Usually, I'm only using the low mid here. Sorry, the low end of the plugin right here. Push the range down, and I'm compressing. Sometimes I compress and I also boost that range. But let's hear what this is doing. Another side here, let's hear what the low mid section is doing. This is where you feel it more. Yeah, we need to switch maybe where the bass player is holding the notes, because for most part of the song is actually holding the notes. Let's try that. This is where you might feel the impact of this. Bypassed, bring it in. So even from the way the waveform, you're seeing this thing moving. It shows you that different notes have different low, mid, of course, depending on where the bass player is playing. So I really want to tame that. I don't want it just flying everywhere without still losing my low end, without losing it. So you're going to see the last thing I did here. This is basically the side chain to the kick. Just side chain basically. So not much going there. Usually that I put that as the last plugin. And like I said, and I'm sure the reason why it's not in the last spot in there is perhaps after mixing and then coming back, I'm like, my bass isn't giving me that low end. So this is a fantastic plugin. This is a fantastic plugin. And I say that again. Okay, so here you see at 85, I'm boosting, I can say, I'm not sure this is, but maybe about 2 dB at 85. And that's exactly the only thing I'm doing to bring back the low end. Now that I have contained and I'm controlling my bottom end, I can then go back and boost it slightly, and it's not going to be flying everywhere because I've already controlled the low end using those two compressors, right? This one, first of all, fast attack, release, and then this also controlling it. Most times I would play with my setting here. As you can see here, this is not perhaps the default setting, just to get a feel of exactly what I want. So let's hear what this is doing. So if you're on a sub or something, you might hear that where Even on my headphones, I can't really hear. I know there's a shift, right? Sometimes I switch to the other headphone to hear what is going on in the low end. And then last but not the least, I have a parallel processing here. That's kind of the standard. On my bass, again, compressing it. Just the goal is make it tight, make it consistent through the song as much as I can, depending on the song. All right, so let's hear what that is doing. Like that. I'm gonna play with the kick drum. Now that side right there, that note, boom, 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 is where you can feel the impact of the compressors that I'm using. Right now. So I'm gonna bypass all the different compressors I'm using, or let me just bypass the what I've done here, and let's hear that section. So obviously we've added so much, we've added a lot of low end in there as well, too, so we are losing that. But I'm gonna leave the low end and bypass the compressors. Listen again. Let me bring it in. It's right there. It's keeping it together. Not really too much dynamics going on there, especially on those low notes. Again, I'm just gonna play maybe the bass with the drums, and then we can just listen to the before and after. All right, so I hope this was helpful and you can introduce these tips in mixing your bass. The goal, and you can listen to this song, is Come to Jesus Now. And that's actually one of my songs, Come to Jesus Now. And listen on your stereo track and listen to the mix and the mastered version as well too, to see how well the low end is there and it works well with the kick drum as well. Have a wonderful time recording, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.